What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the BizDad Podcast. I am your host, as always, Adam Labar, and today I am stoked to have another conversation with Matthias Gruenwald. The first conversation we had was on the Delegate That podcast. For those of you who don't know, I also host the Delegate That podcast. You can look that up. But Matthias was gracious to jump on that podcast and now duplicate his efforts over here on this podcast. So I'm really looking forward to digging into more of the family side of what you have going on in conjunction with the business. So, Matthias, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us about your family, and tell us about your business.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam. Again, thanks for having me. The first one was a blast. I'm glad to be back and do another one here with you. My name is Matthias Gruenwald. I'm originally from Germany, born and raised. Back in 2012, I moved from Germany to the US for my W-2 back then. I was a chief operating officer for a global manufacturing company. I'm a husband and father of one. And my son is 3.5 years old. So really a fun time right now at that age. So that's pretty cool. And I'm also a business owner, retired from my W-2 early this year. January 10th was my last day, 2025. So it's about 8 months into full-time entrepreneurship, but I did entrepreneurship on the side of my W-2. So I'm the co-founder of WCG Investments. We're focusing on recession-resistant mobile home park investments. And we make those investments and our investors invest into those deals. And then we provide basically a return to them with, slashing their tax bills, reducing the tax burden, and also doubling their money within 5 to 7 years with like a 2x equity multiple and really high returns. So that's what we mainly are focusing on, and we're ramping up to really a high scale. So when we started a couple of years ago, we had, my wife and I only had like 6 rental units. So that was a duplex and a fourplex. And now with the recent closing, we are at 579 units with all the mobile home parks we bought. So ramping up really rapidly. And of course, it's a challenge to keep that business life balance and also with the family life balance. So it's always like a teeter-totter, left and right. So, and it's really, really important to have somebody on your side, like my spouse, that keeps you honest.
Yes.
And just say, hey, man, you're redlining on the business side. We have to do more. You need more alone time. You need to travel. We need to do something. You need to reset. So it's always a challenge on that end, obviously. And I'm sure we're going to talk about this more on this podcast. But
welcome to the BizDad Podcast, where we dive into the melding of fathership and entrepreneurship with your host, the original BizDad himself, Adam Labar. Adam is a Christian, a former Air Force officer, a dad to 3 amazing kids, a coach, a real estate investor, and a business owner. On this podcast, he'll explore the unique journeys of amazing dads who are striving for greatness in both business and family. So whether you're a dad who is an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply a man striving to be a better dad, get ready as the BizDad brings you conversations to inspire, challenge, and equip you to be a better dad and entrepreneur. And now, here's Adam.
I completely agree with you on the spouse side of the house, making sure, I always tell people that the number one choice you can make, besides I'm a Christian, so I think the number one choice you can make is a relationship with God. The second best choice you can make is the person that you marry. So if you could find the right spouse, the right person to marry, man, oh man, does that change your life completely. Like if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't have invested in anything. I wouldn't know anything about saving. I wouldn't know anything about investing. I literally was paycheck to paycheck until I met her. And then now we have 3 amazing kids and a phenomenal life together. So well done on finding somebody who's willing to call you out and say, hey, let's do something a little bit different here. So before I dig into that a little bit, though, I'm really interested in life growing up in Germany, right? So you've been here for 13 years, but before that, obviously growing up in Germany, what was life growing up like in Germany for you? What were your parents like? What did they do for a living? And kind of what was that experience?
So my parents were like really middle class. So really, I don't want to say living paycheck to paycheck. We did well, but not wealthy, if that makes sense. So it was a really standard life, average life. We did go once a year. We drove to Bavaria, which is like, southeast in Germany, like to the mountain area and stuff like that. I did like a, domestic trip. It's just like a car ride, like 3 to 4 hours from where I lived. And we did that like once a year. It was almost like a tradition. And my grandparents came with us. It was always a cool thing. I have really great memories of that. And I love the Bavaria area, like down there in Munich as well. My favorite city in Germany, by the way. So it was very standard. I mean, I think in the US, it's probably hard to compare because when I grew up in the 90s compared to, look at how the kids grow up, or my son grows up in the US, it's way different.
Yeah.
I mean, the toys are wild nowadays, what they have. We didn't have that when I was little. But I'm not sure if there's a big difference between Germany and the US there, but I feel like I was outside all the time, playing soccer. Soccer's a religion in Germany, right? So I was always playing soccer with friends, and at school we played soccer, and we went to soccer tournaments and stuff. And I was in this little soccer club and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. My parents worked a lot, so I was actually mostly living in my young age at my grandparents, which my grandparents raised me, which probably helped me with my entrepreneurial spirit as well, because they taught me a lot about financial literacy and budgeting, because almost in a sense, like they had a lot of scarcity, because I went through like a really hard time, because my grandma and my grandparents, they were born right after World War II, like 44 and 45. My grandpa was born 1944, my grandma was born 1945. And as we're recording this, actually my grandma is in my house right now. She always comes like once a year. She's 80 years old, and she's turning 80 this year, and she's here, and she always tells me those post World War II stories, and it's just humbles you, how they lived after the war. She was in Germany, right? And like a house was bombed, and had part of the roof was gone, and they had no heat or nothing, and then they had to heat up bricks, and they wrap them up in a towel or like in a blanket, and put them in the bed so they had some warmth, because they had no roof, because it was bombed to pieces, and like rough stuff like that, like tanks driving through the city. And then you thinking like, oh man, we're complaining about so many little bits, little Mickey Mouse things here nowadays. Yeah. And my grandma, she's like the coolest person ever. She's like straight to the point, like old school German, and talks about those stories like it was like a regular Tuesday morning, and we have people here, including ourselves. We complain about stuff sometimes, catching ourselves how we complain about things, and then realize, man, life could be so much worse. We do it so well. So
for sure,
that's kind of like the background of my upbringing. So a lot of involvement with my grandparents, which I'm really grateful for. Unfortunately, my grandpa passed away, I think it was 12, 13 years ago. He had leukemia and diabetes. BZd had for a long time when he had leukemia. He lived with that for like 6 or 7 years, but it got him in the end, unfortunately. So he was always a role model to me. He was always a good guy. So that was always awesome with my grandma. And I try to kind of reciprocate everything they did for me with going to vacation with me, always paying for stuff. And now I pay for a flight to come to the US. And then we drove to Florida last week, and she absolutely loves the Keys and like the beach and stuff, like Key West, and they're in the Florida Keys. And I asked her just last week when we were in Florida, and she said, from all the travel that we did, like when I was young, we went to Bavaria, we went to Spain, stuff like that, and all the Florida trips right now, which was your most favorite trip in your life? She's just like, this one. It's so beautiful. Nice. That really warmed my heart, like giving back to my grandma after all these years. And after 80 years, I can still give her like the best moment in her life in a sense, that was so cool. So that's kind of, the relationship with my family here right now.
That's so awesome. Hey, everybody, wanted to step in to discuss something. If you're anything like me, you've ran into some time in your business where you feel a little overwhelmed with some of the mundane tasks that eat up your valuable time. You're working more in the business than you are on the business, right? If that's you and you're hearing this and you're saying, boy, it is time to reclaim some of my schedule back, to focus on what truly matters. You want to get time back with elite remote talent with zero time zone hassle. Check out one of my partners that I just recently partnered up with, WiseVAs.com/Adam is where you go to check these folks out. Delegate $10 an hour tasks to focus more on the $1,000 an hour tasks, the things that are really transforming your business. Get rid of some of those transactional things and do some more of the transformational inside of your business. So again, schedule your free strategy call at WiseVAs.com/Adam. Wise, WiseVAs.com/Adam. Again, let's get rid of some of those transactional tasks and move them into transformational tasks. It's been a phenomenal team to work with. I really look forward to sharing them with you. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to discuss with you what's going on as well. But again, WiseVAs.com/Adam. Thank you very much. And now back to the episode. To go back to the, we complain about things that don't necessarily need to be complained about, right? I've traveled all over the world, done all sorts of crazy stuff. I was in the military for a long time, so I got to see a lot of terrible places and people experiencing a lot of terrible things. And when I hear about the things we complain about here, I'm like, boy, you have such a myopic view of what life actually has out there. Like if these are the things we're complaining about, then we have a really good life here in America. Like if we're, some of the things we argue about, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like you're arguing about whether I should call somebody a he or a she or a they or a them. And I'm like, okay, if that is really the concern you have in your life, which if that is your concern, it is what it is. But there are people that have no house. They have no water. They don't come on now. Like, what are we really complaining about here? So I love that you have that perspective to hear from grandma. And I hope that and if you're not, I encourage you to. My wife just recently started doing this with her grandma. Write all these stories down, record some of these conversations, have those memories rooted into something. There was somebody I just had on the podcast recently, and of course I'm going to forget his name because I'm horrible at remembering names, but he actually goes around with entrepreneurs and business owners and various different folks and records a documentary for their family to have for the long term. Like, how did you get to your business where it's at? Tell me about your family, your history, and all this stuff. And I was like, man, how cool would that be if I can hire him to come over and just record the family, learn both sides of the family, where everybody's at. And then we have a documentary with all of those stories that we can share for years and years and years to come. So I would encourage you to try to do the same thing.
Totally. That's a good idea. I have to do that for sure. The last couple of days, I heard a lot of stories, which were, some of them were really uplifting. Some were really chilling, horrific. One story. Also for the audience, right? Like living the life that we're living right now is pretty good. If you think about how life was, 80 something years ago, my grandma had really like a long relationship with her dad because he was actually in the prison, like in the, when they were in the DDR is what it was called back then, which was like the East Germany part after the World War II, that separated out. There was Western Germany, Eastern Germany. And then grandma said he was always like a loudmouth, he was always cocky. So he got caught like stealing corn somewhere because he was trying to feed his family, and the Russians got him into a military prison, a military camp, whatever. And then of course he always had a loudmouth, which is what she just literally told me. She's like, all of a sudden didn't hear from him anymore, no telegrams, whatever it was back then. And then they just basically invited my grandma to go there, and then he was just like basically mummified, and you could just see his eyes, whatever. His skin that was exposed was blue. That beat him to death. Basically. Yeah. If you think about that stuff, there's still horrific stuff out there nowadays, but the way my grandma tells that story, is, I don't know, it's mind blowing because she has peace with the story, but she also tries to relay a message like, you guys have such a good life, cherish it, be grateful for it, because I didn't have time with my dad because he was beaten to death, and in a military camp, whatever, after the World War. So, but it is what it is. We moved on. That's basically how she tells the story, and they did. Yeah. And my grandma was born with she was 7 months old in 1945. I mean, think about the technology from even today. When 7 months old get born, they have a chance to die, and she did that in 1945. And you can tell you how tough she is. I think I maybe remember my grandma being sick once because she's so tough as nails. I never hear her sniffing or coughing or anything. She's like tough as nails. I mean, she's as tough as they come. And I think just the upbringing makes that because she's seen so many hard things, and it's just like, I don't care. Like when COVID happened, I asked my grandma what she thinks about it. She's like, you think I care about the virus after what I've seen? She said. That was her response. She's cool as ice. Cool as ice.
Yeah. And I think that's it does go to that saying, what hard times bring strong men bring good times bring weak men bring hard times, where a lot of hard times, she grew up in hard times, and then it created a strong woman, and now here we are in some really good times, and people are really going to be struggling. It's going to create some hard times if we don't figure out how to keep it, because you talked about, you mentioned your mom or your grandma saying, hey, cherish the life that you have. But, one thing I want to add to that is like fight for the life that you have as well, right? Fight to keep it for the next generation, because it's too easily, it slips out so quickly, before you know it, it slips out of your hands, that great life, because it only takes one generation to lose an entirely wonderful life. So, encourage everybody out there, keep fighting for keeping the life that we have. So love it.
100%.
So as you were growing up in Germany, and you were kind of learning from your grandparents and learning from your parents and trying to figure all that out, what led you to then going into, I'm going into, I think you said you were a CFO for a company, right?
COO, Chief Operating
COO,
Officer.
my apologies. Yeah. COO. So you're the COO for a company. How did you transition? Like, what was your life like growing up, adolescence, and into either college or whatever that got you to becoming a COO of an international company?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, so in Germany, you have basically, it's a very similar school system, right? You have elementary school and you have kind of the high school, but that one is kind of, when you go the first 4 grades, they basically in the 4th grade judge you which kind of school you should go to the next couple of years. So basically, it's interesting. I think they still do this today. They might not, but maybe somebody can correct me in the future. But it's how I did it in my school time. Then they say like you have to go to like they call it Hauptschule, which is like a basic school. Then they call it main school, which is the lowest. Then you only go to 8th grade and you're done. And then you can go to college, but unlikely no, because you don't get qualified. Yeah. Then there's like they call it real school, Realschule. And then it's not because it's not real or real. They just call it Realschule. And then that goes up to 10th grade, and then you're done. And then you can either go like a technical college or do some other college or other education. And there's I call it, it's the same word, gymnasium they call it, which then to 12th grade, which is similar to the US, right? You have up to 12th grade basically. And I think in the middle one, there's like stage 1 and stage 2. So if you're more leaning on the bottom end, there's like Realschule stage 1 or stage 2. So it's a little bit complicated. But in 4th grade, like your entire, all the teachers that you have, they judge you where you should go. And I was like the stage 2, almost like the highest class, but the stage 2 in the middle, basically. So it gives you a good jumping point to get qualified for like colleges and stuff. But the college system is way different over there than here. But what they do in Germany, which I really like, which I feel like I should do in the US more, is if you do anything like any tradesman education, for example, they're called like a dual system where a company can hire you, they pay for your school, and they actually pay you a little bit. So like I got like $100 a week, it's like $400 a month, but they paid for your education, like in college, like a technical college, basically. And you learn like a trade, basically, but you also learn on-site at the job site or like in the facility, manufacturing facility. And also in school, and get paid at the same time. And then that goes for like 3 to 4 years, and you can do this up to like a doctor, PhD level, where it's a little bit longer, and do that after school. So, but you need to be like in the higher class of that, gymnasium thing, Gymnasium in German. Yeah. That's how they just call it. It's just the names they have for that. But from there, that's what I did at a company I worked for, right? And I was in there. They took me, they sponsored me. It's basically a sponsorship, if you will. So they have basically. Everybody wins, right? They have basically a cheap worker because somebody, that just got out of school, that worked for you for like $100 a week, and then they just have to pay for your school system. For them, it's a major tax write-off over there in Germany. And they get a cheap worker and you get free education and even get paid on top of it. So it's a pretty cool system. I like it. And then after that, they don't have any obligation to keep you once that program is done. You get your like certificate that you graduate and that's it. Out of 5 people, I was one of 5 in my class in that company I got hired on and sponsored. I was the only one that took because when I graduated, it was 08, 09, like late of 08. Yeah. In Germany, it was hit pretty hard too in the recession. Yeah. So, and I know my supervisor, my boss back then, he went up to the CEO and said, if you fire this guy, you're going to leave. You guys have to take him on. There's no potential in me. And then, from there, I was basically in the prototype department, did prototypes for, sports cars, motorsports and stuff like that, because we did a lot of car parts, and that company did aviation, aerospace parts and stuff like that. I basically always had like a really hard drive for excellence and try to do everything as much as I can to my best of my abilities, and almost say perfection. I know it's unachievable, but I try to do it as perfect as possible. And that was reflected in my work. So from there, I was like basically a prototype technician, and I worked my way up to a supervisor, team lead. And then they opened another facility up in the same town. Then I was a plant manager there for a couple of years. And then I heard about the opportunity moving to the US, because they're expanding to the US. So when they did the announcement, I was in the newspaper, and I read the newspaper. My parents, I think, did. And they said, oh, yeah, your company made an announcement. They want to move to the US and expand there. I was like, that's cool. I would love to check that out. And then that one Saturday, and I always worked Saturdays because I wanted to, I want to work my way up in that company. I was an up and coming company in that area. And I saw the CEO walking by, like in jeans and like regular t-shirt. And I never saw him outside of a suit before. And I was sitting there, I was programming a robot because they taught me how to program robots and stuff like CNC and stuff like that. And I was telling my buddy, I still remember like it was yesterday. I was like, man, I should talk to him about that thing about the US. I want to move there, and check it out. He was like, go ahead, do it now. You were great at all your life. You haven't asked him.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up there and asked him, and his name is also Matthias, like my first name, but of course I call him Mr. Kroll. His last name was Kroll. And I asked him I heard about that our company wants to expand to the US, and it's super exciting. And then I just listened. He's told me more about it. And I told him, I know I'm very young, but I'm putting a lot of effort into the company, and I feel like could be a good fit for this. And if you need somebody to be the spearhead for this project, just let me know. I would love to check it out with you and continue success internationally. He was like, that sounds really good. That sounds really good. How's your English? And I responded in English. And then little did I know, and I said a couple things in English, little did I know that my CEO couldn't speak English. And he was just like, yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good. It was so funny. And I didn't even know at the time. And he was just like, yeah, sounds like English. He's good enough. But our CFO was perfect in English, and he did all like the conversations. And in the meantime, he learned a lot of English. He speaks English now, but at that time, we weren't international yet. So he didn't have to speak English. And then he didn't speak English. So he could understand only little bits. But yeah, and then for months, nothing happened. And then I got a call from the CFO, Christian was his name. And he was like, I heard you talk to Matthias and you want to go to the US, and are you still interested? I'm like, absolutely, yes, sir. And he was like, okay, pack your bags, we're flying next week, we're going to check it out. I was like, oh, wow, that was quick. And then I was like, I still remember like vividly, I came home, my wife was sitting on the couch. I was like, hey, I'll tell you something. She's like, oh, what happened? I was like, that's actually kind of a good thing, but still, there's like a T section of our lives. You have to turn left or right now. I said, we have this opportunity, we can go to the US, and I'm sure it's going to work out, but I'm sure if I put in 100% of my efforts, I'm sure we can make this work. He was like, whatever you want to do, I'm supporting you. Nice. I was like, okay, what are we going to do now? I'm going to go over there and check it out. I might not even like it. And I think I didn't even know at the time where we're going to go to. The United States is a big country. I didn't even know. Yeah. And they said something about like Greenville, South Carolina. And then I Googled Greenville, South Dakota. I was like, where is this Greenville, South Dakota? And I didn't even know what state it was properly. And I just flew and I got on the ticket. It's like, oh, we found in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a totally different city. Where are we going? And he was like, no, we're going to drive to Greenville from Charlotte, North Carolina. I was like, oh, Greenville, South Carolina. I got it now. So then I Googled it. I was like, that's a pretty cool city, actually. And it's like a couple hours from the coast. We can go to the beach. That's pretty cool. And hour to the mountains. Good location. And Greenville was super up and coming at that time and still is today. It's a phenomenal place to live. And my company that I work for, they were really great about everything. They knew it's going to be tough for me to be like disconnect from my girlfriend. We were actually about to get engaged. So we were been together for a couple of years. Now my wife. And they knew it was going to be tough. So what I did, like I was allowed to basically either fly myself to Germany once a month or my wife to visit me in the US. So once a month, I could clip a coupon saying one flight either for me to go to Germany or for her to come to the US so we don't go crazy. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. Like for a year, we just were flying back and forth. And I was super grateful for that I did it for us. So they were very family oriented, and I understood that was a tough challenge. So I wasn't alone. Somebody else came with me. But he was actually an American that worked in the US because he was there for the military and then started working for that company I was working for. And he was out of Raleigh, North Carolina, funny enough, so not that far away. And then he helped me get grounded, and he helped me speaking English properly. Every time I mispronounced something or did something wrong, he's like, no, you say it this way. And all the funny stuff. And we did it together. We went to his family to Raleigh for Christmas and New Year's Eve and stuff like that. And they welcomed me with such an open heart, which I'm so grateful for. But then I was actually the plant manager for that facility there. And then after a couple of years, they promoted me to COO for the North American business. So we had the Greenville facility first, and then we expanded to Detroit, Michigan, and then also Monterrey, Mexico. Then I was responsible for Detroit and Monterrey and Greenville. And at that point, that was in 2019. Then I was the chief operating officer for 5 years. And then, of course, the rest is history. I did real estate, starting doing real estate 2021, late 21 when we got the first under contract and closed in 2022 in January, I believe, end of January 2022 with our first duplex. And then really I licked blood. And I was like, oh, I have to do this. Proof of concept is confirmed. This works. I want to do it bigger and bigger and bigger. And then just did it full time. I mean, the ending at my W-2 was perfect. I got so much support for what I did and for my decision that I made, going from COO to for entrepreneurship. And the management changed in the meantime. The other CEOs from back then, CEO, they retired and they had a different management team, but the same spirit was still in the company, same culture. And they've been super supportive of my decision. And I gave them 3.5 months to find a successor. And the plan manager at the time, he took over as the COO because he was working alongside me for the last 8 years or so at that company. So probably more than that. I think it's more like 10 years he worked alongside me, and we trust each other blindly. And I was like, if somebody has to take my position, it's him. So I kind of, I recommend that to management. They trusted my judgment. They took him on as like the COO, and I trained him for those 3.5 months of what to do. And I had a beautiful ending there. The last day was emotional, obviously. And I got so much good support from everybody. And I think, the night before, my wife did like this big farewell party, surprise party at like a restaurant or bar, basically, where everybody from our company came, and also friends, and whoever couldn't come or were out of state, they sent me a video of congratulations. Was so good. I'm so grateful for this.
That's awesome.
My wife did that, and it just shows like what the caliber of my wife, what caliber of wife I have, doing stuff like that. Because she puts so much work in planning for that and contacting everybody she knows I'm working with in real estate already, and they'll send me those good wishes on videos. Such a good move, and super, super grateful for it. So that was kind of like the gistory now, how I got from like school to operator to supervisor, plan manager, COO, and now entrepreneurship. So that was kind of like the last basic 20 years compressed in a 10-minute time frame.
No, that's awesome. What a cool story. That's and I think there's a few things I want to highlight in there. Is one, what a good friend of yours that said, hey, you should go talk to the CEO or you're going to regret it, because what a life-changing event that turned out to be. Just one simple conversation turned into a whole entire new life, right? So you said, you hit that T in the road, and who knows what would have happened, and what would have happened if that friend wasn't there to tell you that. Would you have done it? Would you not have done it? Who knows? But exactly. I love that you did that, and that you had a friend there to be able to do that, and to go and talk to your only girlfriend at the time. And she's like, hey, I'm here to support you, whatever you want. Like, not even married yet. And she's like, no, let's do this. And not like, oh, I don't know, we should probably break it off if you want to go. No. Like, hey, like, we're in this together. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a lot of fun. So as you were kind of, I'm very curious how you went from, how did you get involved in your first real estate deal, right? You said a single unit and then a quadplex were your first two. What made you decide you wanted to jump into real estate, 10 years into your, 8 years into your U.S. career?
That's so funny. Yeah. I always like to tell a story because it's always kind of funny. When COVID hit, everything slowed down for everybody, right? Even at my W2, we got like certifications that we're an essential business because we're supplying truck parts as well for Freightliner and Mack. So we had to keep working. But all the other projects were slowed down. So I didn't have to work as much on my W2. So I had a lot of time to do research. And when I got promoted to my COO position, every time I got a raise, I'm like, man, I pay more taxes now. What the hell? And it's just getting worse and worse. I'm like, okay, I'm making good money, but I feel like the government. And then, by the way, the U.S. tax system is a lot better than the German taxes. You pay a lot more tax in Germany. The U.S. tax system is great, but you still pay a lot of tax the more money you make. Right? It's just less overall, but it's still a lot. So I was basically putting in Google, so how do the rich get rich and how do the wealthy get wealthy? And it was always real estate. I'm like, okay, I have to figure out this real estate thing. Then I started reading a book, and I was too cheap to buy like the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, which is kind of more like a financial education book. And it takes a lot of people say it's like their book, how they get started in real estate. There's a lot of stuff in there about real estate, obviously, but it's not only real estate. But it has like this Rich Dad Advisor series, and there's like the one guy, Rolf DeVos, I think was his name. I've always butchered his name because it's such a unique name. But it's like it's going into like the detail how he built his real estate empire basically. And that book was like $8 at Amazon because it was cheap at that time. I was like, just buy a random book and figure it out. And that book changed my life. I read the book. I made so many notes. I was like, I can't believe you can do this in real estate. And you get so many tax benefits, with depreciation, the write-offs and stuff like that. And legally, don't pay taxes with all the income you make in there, right? And I was like, we got to do this. We really got to do this and see how this goes. And then I was starting to listen to podcasts, like Bigger Pockets is a big one. Still today, it's one of the biggest. And at that time, Brandon Turner and David Green were the host. And then like I was listening to like Brandon Turner stuff, he had a bunch of webinars he did. And and podcasts like 2 or 3 times a week, listen to that stuff to work. And always, I think at that point, I never listened to radio ever again in my car. Always, to this day, always podcast, always love podcasts. And then I absorbed everything. And I think I read in that first year, I read like 74 books on real estate. I absorbed everything. And at some point, my wife was like, are we going to do something now? Or are we just going to read stuff about, like, basically, you mentally masturbating, do something now, take action. And then that was like 2020, right? And like at the end of 21, mid 21, we actually were trying to buy like short-term rentals. Wanted to buy short-term rentals. And then we got outbid left and right. It was mid 2021. That's when the rates were like super low and everyone wanted to get in. And, we didn't get it done. Like we got outbid every time. I was like, okay, short-term rent is probably not going to work. Let's pivot. And I always liked multifamily, like anything more than 1 unit, like 2 units, 4 units, etc. And I was like, let's find a duplex because we didn't have a lot of money to really invest. Like you put a $80,000 down payment down plus renovation costs. That was a lot of money. So we actually refied our house we bought in 2017. In 2021, did a cash on refi, used that money to invest in our first deal, duplex. And I believe the deal went out of contract right before Christmas in 2021 with another buyer because a guy bought several homes and he didn't get qualified to buy all the homes he's under contract for and had to drop that deal. And then we jumped in last minute, did a lowball offer, and they jumped on it. I was like, I can't believe this worked, but it worked. Let's run with it. So we got a really good deal on the duplex. And I still remember to this day, like I was terrified. I'm like the next morning I woke up, I'm like, oh man, why did I approve my offer? Did I put the comma in the wrong place? Did I do an overpay here? I was so terrified of it, doing something wrong. And even after we closed, finally, I was like, wow, man, what happens to the tenants stop paying right now because I just hate me. And I can't make the mortgage, I get foreclosed. All the horror stories go through your mind. In the end, it worked out great. We still have the duplex today. It still makes money. Actually, one of the tenants still there. The other one moved out in the meantime, which is fine. They just bought a house and then moved on. The other one is still living in there, which is great. So it's been super stable. And then we were like, okay, what's the next step? Let's buy 4 units. We want to go double. Then we have 6. And then I told everybody in my network in all the real estate events I went to, and the upstate RIA, they call it, upstate South Carolina, the Real Estate Investor Association. I told everybody, hey, I'm Matthias. I own a duplex. I'm getting started, but I'm looking for a fourplex. If you hear anybody having a duplex for sale or a fourplex for sale, anything multifamily, especially a fourplex, please let me know. And it seriously worked. Like at the Christmas party, somebody said, you told me last time you're looking for a fourplex, right? I was like, yeah, I'm still do. I was like, I know a guy that wants to get rid of his. He just put a lot of money in, but he ran out of money. He needs to get out. I'm like, give me his number. I'll take it. He's still a good friend of mine, that guy that referred that deal to me. And we bought that one. And I just, at the time of the recording here, in August of 2025, I just refied that one 2 days ago on Monday and pulled all my money out I put in because we did, value add and all that stuff. And basically, we keep that fourplex, we still cash flowing, have no money in the deal, and I can take that cash again and invest in another deal and do it over and over and over again. Not every day deal is a home run like that, but if you get those home runs, make the best out of it. Not take that money and just buy a Lamborghini. Invest it again, build that cash flow. And, have to be disciplined. But that's how we got into real estate. Really, just for like how we build wealth generationally, and that's. In that same time frame, we were thinking about, okay, we want to, we got settled in the US first. That's why we kind of delayed the plans of getting a child, right? Because we're like, it's going to work out, but we didn't have a green card until like 2016, sorry. And then we were like, okay, now we got a green card. Now we want to buy a house, and we bought a house, and we're like, okay, now we really settled. Let's get a kid now. We were just very conservative about it. We didn't want to raise a child here and they have to move countries, necessarily if you can't stay. It was just conservative that way. And then in 2021, that's when really everything went into overdrive with, we want to do real estate, we want to, get a child. And then we were like, I'm not going to get a child and not be there, because I saw my parents and my grandparents working a lot and they couldn't be there because they had to work. They had to put, food on the table. And I was like, I want to work too, but I want to work smart. And how can I build that machine of cash flow and assets paying me even when I'm sleeping? Because then I can make the decision like, okay, my son wants to go somewhere on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. I'll be there. I make my own decisions. I make my own schedule. That's why when I had my W-2, I had no flexibility. I had more flexibility probably most had as a COO at a corporate job. for sure, and I'm grateful for that. But it still was very exhausting and very time consuming, because you have customers beating your doors down, you have suppliers not delivering to you, you have internal issues, people issues, turnover, whatever. So there's always something going on. You have that when you run a business as well, obviously, but it's different dynamics. You have the freedom, but you have to make sure you don't abuse the freedom either, because just because you have the freedom doesn't mean you don't work anymore. I couldn't sit on the beach for an entire week. I go crazy. I think that's why I think there's a small percentage that will probably survive as an entrepreneur, because some people want to achieve that freedom, but even if they get there, they maybe don't sustain that wealth because they have the wrong mindset how to keep going. And I think, don't the Marines, I know you're a military guy, a military family, don't the Marines have a saying that everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die? I love that quote.
I don't know.
I heard that before. I heard the Marines have a saying like that. And it's so true. Like, everybody wants to do, like, I want to have this passive income, I want to do this and this and this. And then people ask me, how'd you do this? And I tell them, and they're like, oh. I was like, yeah, exactly. I didn't just fall into this. I mean, it was years of discipline. Not overspending, live below your means, and actually have a plan and stick to the plan, take daily boring actions. It's really just like stacking your daily boring actions to get to your goal. It's really that simple sometimes. And sometimes it takes longer, and it doesn't matter, because everybody has their own life to live, and you have your own timeline, obviously. So you should never compare yourself to others. It's just a killer of happiness, obviously. So
no joke.
So far, looking back, be like, oh man, we climbed that mountain, and there's still so much life left. We just in our mid-30s, There's a lot of things we can still achieve here in our lives. And that real estate thing is really beautiful that we built so far, because we can also impact people and communities that we're buying now with the mobile home parks we're buying, and really mismanaged communities where we can go in and just like, fixing up homes, fixing up infrastructure, like roads and stuff like that, paving roads because they have major potholes and then people can barely drive through the parks and stuff. You're really making like an impact, and it gives you a deeper meaning of why you do that business, so to speak.
Yeah.
And my W2 with the car parts, which they're important, but I always told my team too, they're freaking out about stuff. Like, it's like, we have no patience dying. It's just car parts. And of course, we have to do a business. We have to run a business. I get it. We have obligations. I get it. But nobody's dying today. That's car parts. If we deliver 10 minutes late, it's 10 minutes late. We try to avoid it, yes, but nobody's dying. Be good. But now we're impacting lives positively, families, kids.
For sure.
I think that has a very deep meaning.
Yeah, that's where I think that some people get a bad view of like a mobile home park owner. You own a trailer park or this or that. Like, okay, yes, if you want to picture a trailer park that you remember driving by on the school bus, then you can. But that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a better community for these people to live in. That they need a great home to live in too. So let's help provide a great community for them to live in. And it makes a big difference. So I love that that's at least part of the passion behind it. So
yes,
I'm curious and intrigued. You'd mentioned, I want to know how to keep the wealth, and then Google tells me that I should do real estate, so I'm going to do real estate. So, I would venture to guess, if I reach back into the previous portion of the conversation, right? You said you got some of your entrepreneur spirit and your financial literacy from your grandma and your grandpa. Were they in your mind when you were kind of like, hey, let me Google how to save some of this money that we're doing and how to kind of keep some of this money? Was that inspired by them?
Totally, yeah, because they didn't do any entrepreneurial work, but since they came out of that tough time after post-World War II, they needed to know how to save money and live under their means, underneath their means, and that's what I learned, always. Like in Germany, especially like the post-World War II time, that was really tough. It's like the Great Depression, like the US had in the 30s. It was really tough. It was a rebuild phase, and there was no abundance of anything. Like food was scarce, especially in Eastern Germany and stuff like that, where they grew up. And stuff like that. So it was very difficult for them to get by. So they had to make sure they stay within the budget. And that budgeting I learned really well from them. Just seeing how they live. And they didn't live like a poor life. They just lived like underneath their means. And I learned that really well. Even though if I increase my wealth and my income, of course you can increase your lifestyle a little bit, but don't go overboard. Some people know they get a raise and immediately buy a new car. That's wrong. Of course you should treat yourself from time to time, but there has to be limits. Know your budget. And that's what I learned really strongly from them coming out of that. It's almost like they almost were in a position where they had scarcity mindset, because they needed to have scarcity, but there was scarcity at that time. They had scarcity at that time when they grew up after World War II. They kind of rubbed off on me, which right now in the entrepreneurial world is holding me back a little bit too. Where I'm like, ooh, because I had the scarcity in me for a very long time. I have to kind of put that behind me. So it's actually a challenge sometimes because now we live in a life of abundance. There's everything is abundant. You walk into a store, or even I pick up my phone, I can buy anything on Amazon right now. It's here tomorrow. It's crazy. Like, I even showed my grandma here. She's here right now, and I'm buying stuff, and she's like, "It's gonna be here tomorrow." She's like, "Yeah, it's here tomorrow." And she's like, "That's crazy." And she's not used to it, obviously, at her age. But it's just wild, like how fast it came. And she told me stories how they had, they walked downstairs to get water because she lived in an upstairs apartment, and she had no water upstairs. There was no wall lines connected because it was all destroyed, and you had to go downstairs. You get water to flush the toilet upstairs, and it's like wild stuff like that. Or like they had to stand in line to get bananas. Now you can just like get as many bananas as you like. Stuff like that, they had a really strong scarcity mindset. But again, they worked their way out of that phase after post-World War II. And then my grandpa got a pretty good job and worked for a company for a very long time. My grandma was also working jobs. They got by really well and did really good work and saved. And it's the German culture is a lot about saving, always saving. Which then, if you try to build wealth, it's not the greatest strategy because, like Robert Kiyosaki says, savers are losers because they're losing against inflation if you save money. So I get it. And that switched my mind once I read those dozens and dozens of books about wealth creation, like the Rich Dad Poor Dad. Eventually I bought it and read it and got all the tips and tricks and, listened to Brandon Turner and how he built his, real estate empire with open door capital and stuff like that, how he bought mobile home parks. So, got inspired there. It was kind of like a full circle moment too, because I just met Brandon Turner in June this year, June 2025. Nice. And I just met him and talked to him. And I told him like, hey man, you basically my Robert Kiyosaki. I listened to your podcast on the way to work and listen to everything and read your books, and you inspired me like you were inspired by Robert Kiyosaki to change my life. It was pretty cool like to see where you are and how fast life can accelerate, and now you can actually work closely with the people, be in the same industry, if that makes sense. Life can change really, really quickly. So yeah, before you know it, he might just roll your stuff up, and you could sell all your stuff to him in a roll up. So exactly,
and put it in open door capital.
Everything has a price.
So you had mentioned a little while ago the culture of the business that you were working in, how awesome it was. What sort of things did you take away from that to apply to your real estate business? In the employees, the team, the community that you're building there.
Yes, very family oriented. Like my W2, again, just for the sake of like that they supported me getting my wife. At that time, she was engaged with me already. We were engaged already. Moving like once a month to the US to me, visiting me, and I go from US to Germany. Showed me like a lot of value that they care about people. And I always transfer that to my team as well. Like when I was working my W2 as a COO, I did the same thing with my people. If someone had an issue with their family and they, had to go home, I trusted my team. They're not lying to me. And then I just like, of course, go. Family's the most important thing, man. Go. I know they're going to make up the time or find some productivity the rest of the week to make up the time, whatever it is. I didn't really care about the hours at that point. I know they get a job done. The results will speak for themselves. And I use the same thing in the real estate business right now. Right now, I'm sitting in my home office right now, and then my wife sees my calendar. She knows I'm on the podcast right now. I make sure my son doesn't walk into the room, but like internal meetings, my son maybe wants to desperately talk to me, and then he just walks into the room and he sits here and he talks to my team. Everybody knows Miles, my son. They're all waving. And literally, I just right before this podcast, I was on a call with my team, and our VA in the Philippines, she had a 6-month-old baby, on her lap, and just like it was quiet. I was just sitting there, and I was like, teach him young. I love it, and we don't mind at all. We're all humans. We all have families. We should be building a business or go to work to really support our family life. We shouldn't just live to work. We should live to live that family life, and that business is supposed to support that lifestyle that you're trying to achieve. I think that's really important. That's what I tell our people, like really family first, whatever it is, And my partners, they're phenomenal too that I have. Like if we say like, hey, we have an issue with family or whatever it is, so we're on vacation or something like that with family, everybody steps up to make sure I don't have to join calls. My partner, Tim, doesn't have to join calls. If he's traveling with family, everyone stepping up for themselves. And that's a culture that you have to build, and hiring the right people, partnering with the right people that share those core values. I think that's really, really important. If you don't share those core values, it's not going to last very long, obviously, because you're not aligned. Because core values is an alignment. It's guiding you and it creates a lot less friction. And then you can propel yourself much quicker into like a really strong future with the business, obviously, because we all pull on the same string at the same time. There's nobody standing in each other's way.
No, I love that. And I think culture is one of those things that's, we run EOS and a couple of the businesses that I do, and culture becomes such a, if you don't fit the culture, then it doesn't matter anything else. Like you can't be a part of it. And for me, family is such an important part of culture across the board. Like I think that our culture is built off of the family, right? So if we can create a stronger family bond, both internally and externally, then I think we're much better off. And I usually tell people before we start recording that if kids walk in, it's no big deal. I mean, there's plenty of these on YouTube where my kids are literally sitting on top of my head while I'm trying to do an interview. So, cause I love the fact that I'm home, my kids are here, they can come in and out. I'm positive people have heard them already in the background, playing and giggling and laughing, because it's just, what a joy it is to have those moments with the kids hanging around. So,
right.
Let me ask you about that. You talked about, 2016 is when you got your green card. Then you decided you were going to start to, buy a house. Let's look at having kids. What sort of conversations did you and your wife have about raising kids and about, hey, like we're in a different country than we grew up in? What sort of conversations did that take for you guys to figure out, okay, raising a kid here in America, what does that look like for us? What kind of experience do we want to have for our kids?
Excellent question. The biggest fear was the biggest challenge, which also held us back for a while, is we have no support system here, just friends. There's no grandpa, grandma, nobody here. We just on our own the entire time. That was a big holding point at the beginning. We're like, do we really want to do this? And then we just say, let's do it. We figure this out. Like, I think we built that resilience throughout my W-2, which was tough. And then also building our own business that we're going to figure things out. I think if you have the mindset of you're just going to jump with both feet in, if you're going to figure this out, you're going to figure this out. And then we have a lot of friends now. Our babysitters are like really good friends. And they're our babysitter, and they're jumping in. We have to be very hands-on with the parenting, because we really have no grandma that can just step in for a day or two. It's just like really an evening or here or there, like once a month maybe, where somebody jumps in and does some babysitting and we can go out somewhere. But we really, my wife and I talk about it a lot. Like we really enjoy having our son around. So we like to do date nights with him in a sense too. Like we go out to eat and, just having him around because he's just a goofball and he's just like funny, making all kinds of comments and jokes. And we all just like this giggly family that we're always laughing together. So we enjoy that a lot too. So of course we have to understand like how raising in the United States is approached compared to Germany. Especially like it's a different country, yes, but also what compounds is that it's generations later as well. Like how we got raised wouldn't even probably work how you would raise someone in Germany right now either, because everything progressed even in Germany. So it's a new start anyway. So we were like, that doesn't really hold us back, because we have to. I think, Adam, too, like in parenting, you don't really have it figured out. You just gonna figure it out as you go. It's like I read books about parenting. I was like, and I think it didn't take a week. I was like, I didn't read about this. I have no idea what to do here. There's a lot of things you encounter. I was just like almost every day. I'm like, nobody warned me about this. What's happening right now? So I just have to figure this out on the fly.
It's similar to business, right? Business and real estate. Like you could read all the books you want on it, but until you actually do it, you don't really know. Like the first time a toilet overflows inside of, I remember reading about toilets overflowing and toilets 10-inch and trash, what people talk about. And like, I don't want to deal with it, but I got to figure it out. Like, I don't know. Like it's the first time you get that poopy diaper. That's that black tar that comes out of a brand new baby. And you're like, that is not what I expected. Like,
exactly. Yeah. Same with real estate. And all of a sudden you get a phone call and it's like, somebody dumped a jet ski in our dumpster. And I was like, what? They get stuff like that. You didn't read that in the book. And they're like, what are you going to do now? What's the first step? What are you going to take from there? So it's the same thing with parenting.
Does the lid close? If the lid closes, no big deal. They'll throw it in the truck will get it. But if the lid doesn't close, we got to figure this out.
Exactly. Anyway,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But so are you guys planning to have more kids or just the one?
Just the one for now. It's not. We always say disclaimer. Like it's not like we don't enjoy this. We just want to now one. We love traveling, and I feel like if we get a second one now, it might set us back with the flexibility of traveling. For now, opinions might change, but we both aligned right now. My wife and I, we're gonna stick with one because we really truly enjoy it. We always been traveling with him. Like when he was 3 months old, we already did a drive from Greenville, South Carolina to Key West, which is 12 hours when he was 3 months old. We just did it.
Nice.
We asked our pediatrician, can we do that? This is unsafe for him. He's like, actually, now it's easier when they get like 3 years old and ask you a million questions on the way. Like now it's easy.
Yeah. And when you do it younger and you start it younger, they get used to it. They don't know any different. Right.
Yes.
And then they just, so like our second kid, and I'm going to throw this at you just to be a, counterpoint for you. Our second kiddo, Rourke, was born in Japan when we were living in Japan. And then we moved to the States when he was 7 months old, and the U.S. was his sixth country in those 7 months. So we went to Indonesia with him. We went to Singapore with him. We went to Spain with him, Portugal, and then the U.S. So we bounced all over the place, and it was like, hey, like, we'll figure it out. Like you said, I mean, who knows? We'll figure this out. So one of my best things I ever bought was this hiking backpack, as opposed to a stroller all over the place. We have a hiking backpack, toss the kiddos in there. Now all three of my kids have been inside of that hiking backpack. I took Adam, my oldest, up Mount Fuji in the back of that backpack when he was like 2.5 years old.
Nice.
And now all of the kids have been in it, and it's like, hey, like, you find the ways to, like you said, you figure it out. Like when we had our second kid living in Japan, my mother-in-law was like, you should wait. There's nobody over there to help you. There's no support. We're like, man, we'll figure it out. We want more kids. Like it is, it is what it is. We'll figure this out. So I love the thought process, and don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't travel with the kids. You just go and have a great time. It doesn't matter. Just enjoy the heck out of it, even if you have multiples. And now we have all three kids. Our 10-year-old helps out a lot more, right? Because he's 10 now. So it helps out to be able to say, okay, yeah, can you grab that bag for me? Can you help these things with me? And nope. He'll help stop making sure a kid doesn't run into the road if I'm grabbing something out of the trunk. So it's great. Like it helps out. So those 4-year gaps is what we have. So that'd be right around, if you were to have kids now, you know what it would be for you. But we absolutely love having, if I could have 7, I would. But my wife said we had to stop after we hit 40. She's like, we can't keep having kids after 40 years old. We eventually want to retire. So we'll see. We'll see. But strongly encourage having more. But obviously it's a decision between you and your wife.
Of course. I like those hiking backpacks. We bought that one too right away. And then we are just really close here to the mountains here in Greenville, about an hour away, and probably like 3 hours from the Smoky Mountains. So a lot of hiking that we did with him right in the beginning. He's always been in a hiking backpack, walking around. I love racing and motorsports. So we actually went to the racetrack with those big, headphones on. He's in the backpack. He's been always exposed to racing. Now he's completely hooked. He always wants to go to the racetrack. We went to Monster Jam show, nice. When we went to Florida and Tampa. So he's absolutely enjoying that stuff. So he's always
you were in Tampa?
I was in Tampa, yeah. Are you in Tampa?
I live in Tampa. Yeah, I wish I'd have known.
Dang.
I didn't know. Man, oh man.
Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah. I only cry a little bit, but I won't do it on the recording. I'll cry after we record. I won't have that
I'll let you know next time. So. I didn't know. I would have let you know.
No problem at all. Yeah, it's I should have gone to Monster Jam, then I maybe had seen you. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my kids want to do that so bad. They've seen the videos and they've seen the things like the billboards on TV or on the highway, and I keep forgetting that I want to actually take them to that. I need to jump on that and go. But
right, it was a fun time. I can recommend it for sure. Yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah, was it in the Buccaneers Stadium in downtown, or was it in the hockey stadium? Which one did you go to?
Stadium. The hockey stadium.
Okay,
they just renamed that one, right? Benchmark International.
So loud.
Yeah, it's loud in there. They just renamed it. They just renamed it last week, or like Benchmark International Arena. Before
really?
It was like
I didn't know
Amelia
it was
Arena.
Amelia Arena is what it used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, they just renamed it.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'm glad the guy from South Carolina knows it, and I'm right here next door to it, and I don't know that, but okay, very good.
You know why I know? Because I was like, where do I go now? Because I put in the GPS, the arena, and then when I bought the tickets, I was shown different arena. I was like, oh crap, did I buy the wrong thing? And Ticketmaster changed to a new name already, but on the GPS was to the old name. Of course, the arena still shows Amelia Arena, but and I Googled it, and they just changed it last Wednesday, like super recent. They just changed the name.
That's crazy.
They're probably just going to relabel stuff now.
Yeah. And what did you say it's called now?
Benchmark International.
Okay.
Arena.
Huh. All right. So now that you guys have the one kiddo, you're doing real estate. We talked about before we started recording that you were talking about maybe doing homeschool with your son. How did you and your wife kind of start thinking about the homeschool side of the house?
Before even he was born, we talked about homeschooling. We always want to take control of his education. We feel like the financial literacy. There's none of the financial literacy is taught in school. I mean, you might go in a rabbit hole here, but it's probably on purpose. They want taxpayers coming out of the school system, not entrepreneurs. They need entrepreneurs to, build businesses, create housing, etc. These guys get tax benefits like us, business owners and real estate investors and stuff like that. But there's people that need to be working for those entrepreneurs. And I think that's the people mostly coming out of the school system. I wouldn't say the school system is wrong. I think it's doing what it's designed to do, in my opinion. We want to teach him how to get to live a life that he is the most happiest in, basically, and get that freedom that we have right now being business owners, but also keep him grounded and keep him humble. And also, what I don't like about the school system, the same as in Germany, by the way, I'm not going to bash the US system, it's the same in Germany. Like, you're always like judging how a fish climbs a tree,
Yes.
It makes no sense that somebody has is really strong in algebra, but the other kid isn't, and then you grade them on the same level, but everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. It doesn't make sense to put everybody through the same, assembly line of education and just rate them and then basically judging their future based on where they were weak or strong in, and also punishing kids for doing mistakes and only speak when you are spoken to or where you raise your hand, almost like prison. I feel like, of course, we're going to teach him respect and you're not going to talk over people, etc. I get it. But I want to make sure he understands, I want to raise a leader, not a follower, if that makes sense. I think the school system has a really high output of followers that are coming out of the school system. So that's kind of that was a thought process behind it. And if he follows our footsteps or not, it's his decision. We're not going to force it, but we're going to give him all the tools necessary to be successful in that field if he wants to engage in it. And if you look at my social media, if the audience wants to check it out, or you, Adam, you can just see my recent post I just did where my son and I were at a closing table and I showed him exactly how closings work, and I paid signed all the papers, and then I gave him a little post-it note. Again, my son's 3.5 years old; he cannot write yet, but he can scribble, on the post-it note. And I told him whenever I sign something, I'll let you know what I sign, and then you're gonna sign on your post-it note. And I was like, okay, I'm signing this now, and he was like, okay, Daddy signed this, and then he does a little circle or whatever. And it's kind of funny, I can show it, but I have this little post-it note in the picture frame next to my desk here because it's his first closing.
That's awesome.
And I explained to him everything, why we doing this. It's Daddy put a lot of money and he gets all the money back, because we improved a property, like a house. And now we get that money back and, can improve another house where somebody else can live in and provide housing for other people. Might not sink in yet at 3.5 years old very much, but I think I'm starting to, fine tune, his mindset, so to speak, how that mindset works as early as possible. So just embedding seeds, if you will, right, of that entrepreneurial spirit. So, and people love that stuff too. Even at the attorney's office, they were like, I find it so amazing that you take him with you. Other people were like, oh, he's 3 years old, he's going to be so loud. Of course, my son wanted to take his shoes off and his socks off in the middle of the room. I was like, dude, just keep him on in the public place. So it happens. But again, back to what we said earlier, we're just going to figure it out. First of all, it's like, oh man, I have to focus on the paperwork, but with a 3-year-old, they're just like a Tasmanian devil 24/7.
Especially a 3-year-old boy, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Boys especially. But he did great. He listened well, and he's always listening really well. But just get him involved in the business in a sense. We take him to the property from time to time. Walk around and stuff like that. We just want to teach him young how to do things, and what he does with that later down the road, we don't want to force it on him. If he decides to do it, great. He has our support. If he wants to go another route, we have plans in place and funds there work in the background. If he wants to go to college, he can go to college, stuff like that. So that's all taken care of. So we really just want to create not only a door for him, we want to create a barn door for him. He can walk through. Yeah. He's just okay, the world is yours now. And go from there. So, but also I think that's maybe I want to get your feedback, Adam, on this too. Especially with homeschooling, how do you, raise a child? Especially you are a couple years ahead of me, or many years ahead of me, because my son's only 3. How do you raise somebody where you're teaching abundance mindset without getting them spoiled and keep them humble, if that makes sense? Because I don't want them to be cocky or oh, look what we have, look how great we're doing. I want them to stay humble. How do you do that in today's world?
There's a few different ways that we try to do it. Is one, they know that they're growing up differently than even their mom and dad did, right? Like not everybody gets to live in a gated community that's, gets to golf whenever he wants to, because my 10-year-old loves to golf. And so when you're around golfers as well, a lot of the golfers are the parents are well off and they're going to nice courses too, and they're doing all the thing. And it's like, hey, I need you to know that there are a lot of people out there that don't have that. Oh, we just drove by this homeless guy. Let's go buy him a meal real quick and then bring it back to him. And then, okay, well, how did he get there? Like, how do you guys think he became homeless? And we have these conversations and we go to places that are not very nice. And we, it's the same, like I have conversations with them constantly about different things that I've experienced in my life that different people are growing up, not only, like wealth wise, right? But, some people have parents that beat them, right? And that's a horrendous scenario to have a child go through. And they've probably played at the playground with kids whose parents beat them or verbally abuse them. And it's like, I want you to know that stuff's out there, and those things are difficult to deal with. And, I've arrested many, because I used to be a federal agent. So I've arrested many people who have done bad things to kids. So now I get to tell stories about how the world actually is. But they also know that mom and dad provide all of this. That doesn't mean they have anything. They still have nothing and have to work for it. Mommy and daddy can provide a lot of the stuff, but they still, and I'm sarcastically remind them that from time to time. They're like, oh, this is my toy. Like, no, it's not. It's really not your toy at all. Is it inside of this house? Then it's not your toy. It's my toy. I just let you use it. Like, do I actually want to play with this? No, probably not. But it's my toy. It's my toy, not yours. I think it just. The benefit of homeschool as well is we get to go anywhere and everywhere and talk about anything and everything. It's not, oh, well, at school I learned this. It's no, at home we talked about this, and we just get to have conversations at any point, at any time, and all of it can be school. Or none of it can be school. None of it has to feel like school, but you're still learning. You're still doing things. Like maybe when we go cook, okay, well, now I'm looking at, I'm going off the subject a little bit right now, but okay, well, I need 1 cup of this, and we're cutting the recipe in half because we only need half of it. Well, what's half of 1 cup? Oh, that's 1/2 of a cup. Let's get a half of a cup. Now all of a sudden we're doing math lessons in the middle of cooking food, and it's like, great. Now we're having a great time with this, So, I don't know if I really answered your question, but really we have a lot of conversations. We expose them to a lot of different things. They get to see all sorts of stuff. Plus, when we travel all over the place, it's helpful for them to be able to see what's going on. And I talk to them a lot about, I've told this story a couple times, I think, on the podcast, but my son at one point told me that he wanted to drive a tractor for work. And I said, that sounds like a lot of fun. Like he was watching this bright yellow tractor dig holes in the ground. He's like, I want to do that for work. Like that sounds like this is gonna be a lot of fun. I said, oh, how cool would that be to be able to drive that tractor? What if you own that tractor and maybe like 4 other ones, and then like you got to drive it once in a while, and you also got to have other people be able to drive these tractors, and you get to own. So we just get to talk about all these things that I was never exposed to. Like I went to a basic public school doing the basic things, and that was it. I had parents that worked their butts off to make sure that we had a house to live in, and that's about it. I went in the military after that, so there was no anything after that. So to your point, I want to have that barn door wide open for them in life to be able to see, but not have goggles on to the fact that there are a lot of terrible things that go on in this world. And if you can help figure out some of those terrible things, yeah, you can become wealthy by figuring out how to fix terrible things, but also understand that, have empathy for that person that's going through that, because they didn't live the life that you got to live growing up.
This is so good. I like that. We literally did the same thing last week. My son Miles loves to watch a show like Paw Patrol, and there's a little spin-off with Rubble. And he has like his construction thing, and then he was also like, at some point he was just telling us all day he wants to be like construction worker like Rubble. And I told him the same thing, exactly what you just said. I told him like, how about you actually own the business that owns the construction vehicles? You can have 20 of those. He was like, 20 construction vehicles? He was like, oh my God, I can do this? It's like, absolutely. Yeah. And as you grow, you can have several of those businesses. You can have 100 at some point, but over the entire country, explain it that way, just giving that abundance mindset and of like, if you want to do this, go for it, man. I love it, Yeah. But like open up the mindset like you did, which I find admirable. It's awesome to just say like, if you want to do this, great. But how about just owning the business and do it? You can do whatever you want then. You can own the business to run that construction equipment because you own it. It's even better.
Yeah, it's
you
yours.
play with your own toys. And it makes money.
Exactly.
And hire more people. Yeah. I love that.
It's one of the reasons I thought about buying a golf course. That would be great.
Yeah.
Buy a golf course, and then I can golf on my golf course whenever I want. So,
I love racing. I want to have a go-kart track. That's what I want to do.
Oh, there you go. That'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be a good time.
Yeah.
We drove by a dirt bike track the other day, and my son was like, "Oh man," because he likes to ride his dirt bike. So he's like, "That's okay. Well, let's look at something." I mean, I'm open for any business at this point. I would gladly, because I still love real estate, and I still own real estate, but I'm in a new phase of trying to buy more businesses. So I'm getting ready to close on a business now, and the kids are all excited about it because it's actually an escape room, which I was not expecting to buy, but it came across my desk. So, and it seems to be a decent deal. So now they're all excited about that. So I'm like, well, I can bring homeschool to the escape room. Like, how cool is this going to be? Like, we could talk about business inside of there. They could do some work in there. They can work inside of the business and get paid to work inside the business that daddy owns and try to do all this stuff. Like, how much fun is this going to be? So it's a whole new world that you can expose your kids to when you homeschool. And then when you homeschool as a business owner, goodness gracious, like, what a deal that like, they are not going to, it's going to be a world that's unrecognizable to any of their counterparts that are going into regular public school. The exposure that you get to give. So, but also the pain in the butt that it is to run a business. Like, oh my goodness, like, all of these people are, relying on us for paychecks, relying on us for a good house, relying on us for all this stuff. So there's a lot of extra things. Yeah. You're not just a W-2 worker where, you just get to punch in and punch out and be done. Now people rely on you, but what an amazing responsibility that you get to have, So it's cool to be able to have those conversations with them and see how they receive it. My 2-year-old, she's still slacking a little bit. I don't know why. She's not participating as much as I'd like. She's 2. Come on, step it up. You're 2 already. Let's go. But yeah, the 10 and 6-year-old love this stuff, so it's fun to, or at least they act like they do in front of me, which is good enough.
Awesome. Since this is the BizDad podcast, I have to drop a dad joke here. So if the escape room is a very hard business to exit, isn't it?
Very hard to exit. Yes. You only have 1 hour to do it, and if you don't, then you're stuck. Yeah, you're stuck in there. So, look at you go, Matthias. Man, man. Oh, we should have saved that till the end. Gracious, that would have been a great boom at the very end.
It's your highlight reel right there. That's how you highlight reel.
Oh, gracious. We'll see how hard it is to exit. It's jumping into it seems to be pretty easy, but we'll see how the exit goes.
Easy to get in for sure in those escape rooms. Hard to get out.
That it is. The door just opens right up for you. That's a super cake.
Yeah.
But, so as you're continuing, what is your goal in the real estate side? Like, do you have like a certain amount of doors you're trying to get to, or is it more just like, hey, as things come to me, I want to go for them? How are you kind of stretching out your goals there?
Yeah, definitely. So in the next 5 years, so by 2020, 2030, we want to get to 250 million assets under management, which is about housing about 5,000 families, roughly. Give or take, depends on the size of the parks we're buying. So that's our big goal. And then we want to go, our big audacious goal beyond that is to house 10,000 families, nice. By 2050, basically. So that's our big audacious goal. We want to be in the top 50 in the next 5 years of mobile home park operators in the country, my partner and I.
Nice.
And then we want to go to the top 10. So getting really close to that in the next 20 years or so, maybe even faster. Who knows? We will see how we get there. But we want to impact as many families positively as possible. That's our goal of this. And at the same time, serving our investors to build their generational wealth by doubling their money, slash the tax bills, and so forth. So doing all of that at the same time is a win for the community, a win for us, a win for the investors, etc. So it really fires you up to get started in the morning. It's funny, like, I'm really looking forward to work sometimes. Like, oh man, I can really make another 1%, 2% progress, towards the goal today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I like some people, like, sometimes I walk on a Saturday morning and like some don't get it and like, oh, I'm sorry you have to work Saturday. I was like, I want to. I love it.
Yeah.
And that's family's still sleeping. I'm up at 6, 7 in the morning. Just do a couple hours. Why not? Have a head start for Monday or whatever. Whatever it is. So I think it's a different mindset, obviously. So I enjoy that, really, to work towards that big goal. And it fires you up. Have those big goals and makes it easier also to hire people, because I listened to another podcast recently and they made a good point there. Like, people don't really join your company where it is now. They join you because they see where it can go. And you as a leader has to sell that vision where you want to go. And like, people are getting really fired up of our vision. We hire some really good people, big players in the industry, because they rode the wave with somebody else that did it kind of wrong, and they want to come to us to do it the right way and tell us what they did wrong, which gives us an advantage as well. So we're having some really good people from really big real estate companies right now that we get on our team that just basically can work for equity. They just believe in the vision, and get a little bit of, general partner cash flow here and there. But I don't make much money now. But I know if we get to like 100 million, 250 million of assets under management, then things look quite different, and they help us get there. So yeah, that's our big goal, man.
Love it. Now, I know that we talked about culture a little bit before, and I want to kind of double down on that as a additional question. When you're talking about wanting to, I talk to people a lot about when you're partnering with somebody, you need to make sure that you guys are aligned both in your own personal culture as well as what your long-term vision is, right? So if my vision is to hold on to a property for 10 years, keep refinancing it, and then hold on to another 10 years and keep refinancing it, but somebody else is like, no, I want to pull my cash out and go move on, then probably not going to work out so well with the two of you guys being partners. Same with if what I see is, oh man, back to school, I would love to have this backpack giveaway outside where everybody gets to come in, they get a backpack full of school supplies, all the families are really excited about it. And the other partner's like, no, I'm kind of like, it's not because I don't care about the people, but I'm kind of a penny pincher. I want to make sure that we're saving all of these things. Those probably aren't very aligned either. So as you're talking about, and it's not because either one of those is good or bad, it's just because they're two different business models. So as you're talking about, okay, I want to make this impact on all these families, obviously sometimes that means that the bottom line isn't as high as it might be able to be. So, in your communication with, not always, I'm just, that's a generalization, but when you're communicating with your investors, how do you ensure that your investors are the right kind of culture fit for what your goals are as you're moving forward to say, hey, like I really want to improve this park and improve these people's lives in this way, that way, or the other way, like getting the investors on board with that, as opposed to your normal investors just like, no, I want you to make me as much money as humanly possible right daggum now.
Thankfully, we haven't gotten much pushback, and really the way our business is structured, it's automatic. Meaning if we want to get to investor returns to a certain way, we have to improve the living conditions, meaning improve the value, if that makes sense. Yep. If you improve the value, improve the living conditions. If you improve living conditions, value goes up and investors get more money. So basically, you have to do the thing anyway, so the investors win and the community wins. There is situations where we call the shot and the investors are agreeing with it because it's just morally the right thing to do. Like we had one mobile home a couple months ago where somebody left their home. They had a bunch of stuff hooked up to one outlet, and the place basically almost burned down. Like the inside was completely destroyed. The outside, structurally, still okay. And the family had a baby, just 6 months old. And thankfully, we're not there. Like the neighbors saw smoke coming out the windows. Thankfully, nobody was there. They called the fire department. Thankfully, that they're just down the road, so they contained it really fast. But they had nowhere to live. And then I was there because that's one of the mobile home parks that are close to where I live. And I called the shop. I was like, we're going to repair this now so they can move back in. I don't care. It was like $8,000 to fix. Thankfully, it wasn't that much damage. And my guys do a really good job for really low amount of money, my team here. So I was like, we're going to just do that. And the family said, I know we cost this and we can pay some money too. I was like, how much can you afford right now? I said, we give you $1,000 and we can pay this much over the next 2 years. So that's fair enough. Then we did kind of 50-50. They pay the $3,500 over the next 2 years. They give me $1,000 down, paying $2,500 over the next 2 years. I put it on their ledger for the lease. I paid extra, whatever, $100-something extra a month. Give me $1,000 now, and I start repairing immediately. I put in the investor report. Nobody bitched at me. I mean, I thought that was the right thing to do. If I would have just been bottom line, it's like, you guys suck, get out of here, because you guys burned my place down. I mean, if I just look at the NOI only, I would have done that. But I mean, if somebody in our investor base would think that's the wrong decision, I would just really politely welcome them to invest in other deals with other operators, because we want to impact families positively and not just be slumlords. There's plenty of slumlords out there. We don't want to be one of them. And this is just a good example where we just like to put the residents first, obviously. And we found a good solution. I think it's completely fair to say we share the thing 50-50. I mean, with those big commercial insurance policies too, like the deductibles was almost that high because it's big commercial policies. So we were like, we just gonna fix it ourselves, and they pitched in the end. So it was just like, okay, that makes sense. Even if they move out, we have a renovated unit in a sense, if you think about it, So in the end, it's all good. It could have been much worse. I'm just super thankful that nobody got harmed, especially the baby, if that would have happened at night or something, and all the smoke and everything. I'm just glad the family's okay. That was the most important thing. And then we always like to be like, if you have properties, we always have people representing us on site. So part of the team is like community managers. And if we are close as partners to the deals, we actually go out there quite often. Like the parks that we have here in my backyard, I go there like once a month or so just to check on things, meet the team, and maybe even meet residents when they're out there. They see me, they wave, "Hey, how's it going?" You know, I mean, you show like presence and, you know, just be out there, talk to people. That goes a long way. Like if you can't imagine like how many times we buy a community and they're like, people are shocked that we pick up the phone. I was like, "You guys pick up the phone?" I was like, "Why wouldn't we?" It's like the previous guy that never picked up the phone. I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, are we an improvement?" You know, that's how people give people an ear and like a voice that they can stress their concerns and actually respond to them. So that's also very important. So, and we have VAs, and we talked about on the BZd&x podcast as well, like how we delegate things. You know, we hired even more people since we talked. They're just answering phone calls and text messages and everything. And I tell the team, like, there's no excuse. So at least if you don't know the answer, just tell them like, "Hey, we got you. Acknowledge your message. We're gonna get your answer as fast as possible, and you have to get in the next 24 hours. At least in the next, I want an answer. Somebody texts like within an hour or call back within an hour is my target for my team, so the residents know we're taking care of them. It's really important. I don't want to be one of those slumlords that just like, you know, who cares? At least I'm paying rent. You know, taking care of that. So yeah, that's how we approach things on that front.
Good. Yeah, and I think that having that conversation with your investors up front is always an important thing. Like, hey, we want to take care of our tenants. We want to do all these things. And this is what our goals are. Again, the culture fit. For anybody listening, if you're finding an investor does not exactly fit that culture, don't bring them in, right? Because they're going to be more of a pain later on, you know, and you don't want a pain of an investor that actually has their money in there, because they're going to be emailing you constantly. They're going to be complaining about things. They're going to be potentially suing you for one reason or another because that's who they're going to be. Somebody shows you who they are, believe them, and just move on. Exactly. You can get money from somewhere else. So
exactly right.
Part of the process. So your wife seems to be a rather important part in both the business and obviously in the raising of your son, Miles. But what is it that she does inside of the business, and how did you guys agree to go down this path of entrepreneurship together?
Yeah, that's a good question. So she, before we got our son Miles, she was working for ZF Transmissions, which is also a German company, but she was not affiliated with the German parent company, but they have a big facility here. So she was working there as like a production supervisor there, and then built transmissions, for like Chrysler and Dodge and Jeep and those guys, BMW as well. So she did that. And then when we said we do the real estate, we want to exit that. And especially when we also want to get our child, she wants to exit that to be a stay-at-home mom, but also be the property manager of our properties. What it also does, gives you a tax advantage too, because she's a real estate professional, which then it can offset my W-2 income or tax burden, so to speak, because she does it full time. Which that was a big cheat code too, and legally, of course. I always disclaim it's always everything I'm doing is legal. As a CPA, signing off on my strategies here, and that helped us a lot to even stack up more money we can invest in building that cash flow to get out of the W-2, so to speak. So she was basically like, we spearheaded it together, but she was like at the front line with property management, making phone calls, dealing with the tenants. She does it today still on those duplex or fourplex we have. She's the property manager for it. On the mobile home parks we have here locally, she helps out there too, makes phone calls, text messages. If you have to go somewhere, she drives there if she's in the area anyway, so she helps out there a lot. Right now, for WCG Investments, we have a retreat coming up in the Smoky Mountains where we rented like one of those 6-bedroom cabins, and she's doing the agenda right now. She's like the HR lady right now and getting everybody corralled. And when is everybody arriving? I'm getting groceries. What's dietary restrictions? She's playing HR right now for the business. So she's very involved with the business. And she always been since day one. So I couldn't have done it without her for sure. So really happy to have her on our side, pushing through. And it's so crazy, like how much she supported me along the way, like from what I mentioned earlier, from like just getting home. So I said, hey, let's move to another continent. How about that? Yeah. She was like, sure. Of course, there was fear there and like, oh, what happens if it goes wrong? But she didn't want to be my way. She never was. Never. And then like this crazy idea, hey, how about I'm leaving this executive position? We're just going to buy some rental homes and buy trailer parks. I mean, that sounds crazy if you say it that way, but it's what we did. And it worked great. Yeah. So, and she's like, I can't wait with you what comes up next. Who knows what's going to be in 5 or 10 years from now, but it keeps life exciting. And then I don't want to be on my deathbed and just have a lot of regrets what could have been, and my wife works the same way. We want to be in that point where we just can be proud of what we achieved, and we are already. Even if life ends tomorrow, we know we lived it to our fullest. We didn't leave anything on the table. And we always say that this is just the beginning. We're just getting, better and better at it. And nobody's perfect. We're not perfect as parents, as business owners, but we're getting better and better as we're doing it, as everybody does. And back to our point earlier, we just keep trying, even if we stumble, we just stand up again one more time and try one more time and keep doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only way you can succeed is to fail first and then figure it out and move forward. So there are a lot of people I talk to that are like, oh, don't even think about getting into business with your wife. Don't work with them. Just, let work be work and home be home. How have you guys coordinated through that to make sure that you're able to separate work from home and be able to be patient with each other as seems to be some of the problems with some couples and not being able to be patient with each other through all that?
Yeah, we have a really good separation of who's responsible for what. So I don't even get involved in the duplex and the fourplex. That's her babies. Like, she does the decisions, and if there's something big, she lets me know. Like the HVAC ran out, and then I'm like, okay, we sat down and just, discuss what to do next. But if it's like small stuff, she just tells me like, oh, this is happening, just to let you know I took care of it. And like some of the mobile home parks, like the ones we have in Oklahoma or in Virginia or Georgia, I give her updates, but she's not involved in those. And because she trusts me, like I trust her on the duplex and the fourplex side, for example. So we have clear separation on who's doing what, so we not feel like we're micromanaging each other, if that makes sense. So maybe it's not really like full corporate structure where it's like, oh, she reports to me and, she's the wife's boss. It's not really like that, we kind of have our little subgroups, like she runs her own, like with real estate, you kind of run like mini businesses, if that makes sense, right? Like you run like this mobile home park, it's like a mini business, like a mini city almost. Like you have infrastructure and you have everything, sometimes you own even like the well water system, the septic system, the roads and stuff. Like you're running a mini city, and she doesn't get involved in that stuff, like the high level stuff I do. But she does the high level stuff on the duplex, on the fourplex, because she started there. And then I was like, she knows that thing in and out, knows exactly what to do. She knows the tenants. She met the tenants and stuff like that. And like, if I come by like the properties, they think I'm the owner and she's a property manager. They don't even know we married. So use that as an advantage as well. So that helps a lot too from a relationship perspective, because she just say, oh, let me talk to the owner. And then like she can say, oh man, I tried, but he said no. But she's the owner too. So
yeah, that owner, he's a pain in the butt. So
I know. He's tough cookie.
Couldn't imagine being married to him. Gracious.
I know, right?
Yeah. That's probably what she says when you're not looking. So
I'm sure. Let me ask later.
Use it to the advantage for sure. That's funny. So is your wife wanting to be at all more involved in the mobile home park space, or is she happy just kind of, being a mom and taking care of the duplex and quadplex?
She's pretty happy where she is right now. And then of course, like when we do like high level stuff for the company, like the retreat, then she completely starts blooming. She loves that stuff, like getting everybody together and like have like this get together and stuff. Like that's what she gets
your retirement from the manufacturing company. Like she enjoyed doing all that, putting it together.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. She enjoys that. So everybody has like a little role, in the sense, but it's not an official role. Like wherever is at WCG, we do it such a way, like how it should be done. It's like, you're strong at that. That's what you're going to do. If you hate that stuff, somebody else is going to do it, because you're just going to become miserable if you don't want to do that stuff. If you hate accounting, don't do accounting, hire somebody to do accounting or bookkeeping, so that's, she doesn't get involved with like the mobile home parks out of state too much, because you have people managing it anyway, and it's their baby, you just have to get involved. And I give her updates about it, and she's super excited, like, oh, we closed another one, that's awesome, and then it is what it is. And this being like a full-time mom and then doing the homeschooling now is a full-time job in itself already, that goes a long way. So there might be more involvement like as we building like this big business out, like becomes more of a corporate structure. There might be more roles that are opening up where she can excel in, I'm sure. But again, as we go, we will figure that out. We say, oh, there's an opening right there. We need somebody. And she's really good with people. So she could be like a good HR person as well, in that sense.
Yeah. And, or she may just enjoy the homeschool stuff so much that she's like, I'm just going to enjoy being a mom, do some homeschool, take care of the duplex and quadplex. And, Matthias can go and knock all this stuff out of the park the way he does. So,
exactly.
I'm in the process now of trying to figure out what it's going to look like with my wife. So I think I mentioned before we got on recording is my wife retired. She's not officially out yet, but she's basically done with all of her work and done with everything. So now I'm like, I got to figure out what this means with my wife at home now, and how do we balance this, and what does she want to do? What does she not want to do? Does she want to be involved in business stuff? Does she not want to be involved in business stuff? We'll figure it out. Like it is what it is. And we both are enjoying where we're at. So let's just keep on rolling and see how it goes. So.
Right. Yeah. We have right now, it's kind of funny, like that's you in Tampa because it kind of is matching. Like when we were in Tampa last week, we always had the dream to move to Florida. Always. We always loved going down there. And then once we had that freedom with me not having to be tied to a manufacturing facility anymore, we were like, okay, I think early last year, we already talked about, okay, now we can be serious. If we want to make this exit of the W-2, we have location freedom. Where do you want to move? And we always, like my wife made a good point, like we always lived somewhere because of a job. And now we don't have that anymore. We can live wherever we want. So where do you want to go? So we always talked about, Florida and different areas. We have some people and friends that we have in the Fort Myers, Cape Coral area and stuff like that. We have business partners in Naples, which is beautiful but expensive, and stuff like that. But we did research where homeschooling is great and where there's like a lot of, the co-ops, I think they're called, and stuff like that. And Tampa always stuck out. And we actually looking at
co-ops and stuff here.
Yeah. So we actually looking deeply into right now moving to Tampa, just so you know. It's kind of funny. I
might be selling my house. Come on over. You can buy my house, and I'll give you the friends and family discount on it. So
yeah, love it. Love it. Yeah. So we kind of what we did last week when we were in Tampa, we actually looked at a couple houses as well in the Brandon area up there. So it's kind of south of Tampa a little bit. So don't want to be in the hustle bustle in the Tampa, but we want to be close enough. And Brandon's like 30 minutes away. It's perfect. And Brandon's a little bit outside, which Brandon's pretty busy too, but not crazy.
Yeah, the traffic in Brandon gets a little ridiculous during rush hour time. So
yeah, we noticed that. Yeah. But it's rough here too where we live right now. So it's not. At least you have like 4 or 5 lanes. It seems like you have really big highways, but even then they get pretty congested.
I-4 though, no matter what you're doing, I-4 just sucks. Like I-4 and I-75 during rush hour, it is what it is. That's. There's only so much that they could do to allow that much traffic to go that many. But like it's tough. When we left Northern Virginia,
275 was traffic. Was a parking lot when we drove through it at 4 p.m. on the first day. We're like, oh man, it took us forever to get through 275 in Tampa.
Yeah, it's horrible. So I'm glad where I live because I work from home and I'm outside of the city, close enough. It's only 20 minutes to get into Tampa. But I get to I've got like 2.25 acres. I've got privacy. I've got quiet. So the kids can they'll ride their dirt bike in the backyard and have a good time where, and I work from home, so I don't really have to travel. And Raquel is done traveling now back and forth to work. So man, oh man, we've got it made now. We just kind of can chill, but we'll see how that continues to go for us. But yeah, if you do want to move down here, let me know. I'd be happy to kind of help tell you a little bit about the area and where things are and what's going on and things to avoid and things to jump on. And, any connection I can make, I'd be happy to do it. So
love it. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Definitely reach out to you.
Yeah, please do. Well, on that happy note, Matthias, it was fantastic to have you on the BizDad podcast. I thank you so much for jumping on. If people are hearing this and they're like, hey, I totally want to, I love Matthias' style. I want to reach out to him about being an investor or learn more about mobile home parks or, maybe talk to you about homeschooling. Maybe, I don't know, who knows? But what's the best way for folks to reach out to you?
The best way, I'm very active on Facebook, Instagram with my name. I'm sure you're going to put it in the podcast description here. My Instagram handle is Matthias _Gruenwald _89, which is my birth year, 1989. Also very active on LinkedIn as well. You can reach out there. If you want to go on the website of our company, WCG Investments.com, you can also reach out there. There's a contact form, and also my email address is right there, my business email. You can reach out there if you're interested in investing. Always happy to help people out how to get out of the W-2 world into the entrepreneurship world. So always happy to help there. Just feel free to reach out. I'm not charging anything. I just love to help people, in the business world. So feel free to reach out on any of those platforms. Really happy to help. And yeah, Adam, thank you so much for having me again. That was such a blast. Of course. Having this podcast. It was a really good conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Good. Yeah, it was absolutely a blast. I really enjoyed it. So thank you again, and thank you to your grandma as well for pushing you and telling you those stories, and hopefully inspiring even folks who are hearing this to be happy with where they're at, but always wanting to grow, but being satisfied with them, realizing, man, we live in a wonderful place. We have a lot of opportunity. Let's not take it for granted, and let's push forward because there's a lot out there we could have to complain about, but we really don't have to worry about that very much here in this country. So thank you so much, Matthias. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you liked what you heard, please share this with somebody, anybody, to help them kind of learn a little bit more about what life is like as an entrepreneur, as an operator in real estate, while still trying to crush it as a dad. I'm looking forward to hearing more stories from Matthias on being a dad as he continues to go down that journey. But please comment below as well. What was your favorite part? Let us know what we can do to improve our podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you again, Matthias, and we will see everybody on the next show.
Thank you so much for listening to the BizDad Podcast. We hope you found some value in your time here with us, and we look forward to bringing you the next episode. If you've enjoyed today's show, please subscribe and share so you and your friends won't miss our upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Rumble, where we continue these discussions and share more valuable content. Be the dad you know you need to be and run your business in a way you're proud to share with your kids. Keep crushing it.